with your Big 12 sports update. I'm Taman Turner. For the first time in program history, the West Virginia University baseball team is going to the Men's College World Series after finishing off a two-game sweep of Cal Poly in the NCAA Super Regionals with a 17-1 victory over the Mustangs on Saturday afternoon at Kendrick Family Ballpark. The Mountaineers improved to 45-15 on the season, setting a new program record for wins. West Virginia collected 19 hits, a new season high, including a season-high 5 home runs, and stole a base season-high 9 bases, the most since stealing 10 against Pitt in 2022. Senior Ben Lumsden led the charge with 2 home runs and 5 RBIs. Junior Armani Guzman hit his first home run of the season while driving in 3 runs and stealing his 38th base of the season, tying a WVU single-season record. The Mountaineers will play on Friday, June 12th against Troy from Charles Schwab Field in Omaha, Nebraska. Stay tuned for more Big 12 today, presented by Modelo right here exclusively on TuneIn. With your Big 12 Sports Update, I'm Taman Turner.
Stay connected with your Big 12 Sports Update. This is the Big 12. This is a different league.
I'm Commissioner Yormark, and you're listening to Big 12 Radio on TuneIn. Love the fact that TuneIn's part of our family. We're going to grow together and do some amazing things, so thank you.
Big 12 Today with Ari and James. Monday through Friday, 8 to 11 a Eastern Time. Your home for all things Big 12.
Off and rolling on a Modelo Monday. Welcome in to Big 12 Today here on Big 12 Radio. Anthony Smith, our video producer, crushing it as always behind the camera. He is T-Chains with a Z. Taman Turner. I'm James Westling. Ari will rejoin us tomorrow. He's been on vacation for the last week, and we think Maine, that's what he told us anyway, could be Lawrence, Kansas. We'll find out. So KU got rained out yesterday in the College World Series Super Regionals. They'll play again today at noon. We have a lot to unpack from KU and West Virginia. But Taman, let's do something together. Let's take a big, deep breath.
Yes.
4 seconds in. 4 seconds out. Cool, calm, collected. Hopefully your weekend was way less stressful than the last 10 minutes. Because if you're joining us exclusively on TuneIn or the Big 12 Fast channel, we just got into the building where we do this show from our Big 12 Studios compound about 10 minutes ago. We got set up about 5 minutes ago. So we are scrambling a bit.
Just a little bit. We made it.
My tone was supposed to almost be asking that as a question because you've really had to do the meat and potatoes of this whole operation. I just sit down and think about what I'm going to say in 4 minutes.
We made it work. It was one of those things. It wasn't a pretty win, but we'll take it.
It was a grinder.
Yeah.
Both teams shot below 40%.
Yep.
Not a lot of threes. A lot of trips to the free throw line, but we came through.
On the football field, the score was 6-3 as the final.
That's like an Iowa-Nebraska football game.
In the rain.
Had Big Ten game in the rain written all. We don't even have Willie the Wildcat set up yet.
Yeah,
We will.
yeah.
We will. That's coming. It's weird because so this weekend we had dinner with some friends, and we were talking about West Virginia and how they just steamrolled Cal Poly off to their first ever College World Series, outscored Cal Poly 29-3 over the 2-game series. Kansas is in some trouble. They'll pick up in like the third inning today against Oklahoma, but they were down big. I think it was 7-1.
8-1.
8-1.
Yeah.
So we'll get you up to date on what's happening there. But this weekend, so they asked me, we were talking about our jobs and stuff, and my wife knows this couple really well, but this was really my first time hanging out with them in quite some time. I kind of knew the husband. And they said, what's like the craziest thing that's ever happened with what you do for your job? And I struggled to come up with a story. I thought, things have been pretty smooth lately. Sure enough, they were foreshadowing. They've got premonition minds because today we can't get into the building.
Yeah, that was I got here a little early. We got all that swag on Friday. We were unboxing. I was going to make it real swag-ish, but it seems like all we got was the stadium where Willie is and the West Virginia football behind us because my key fob wasn't working. I immediately texted James. I'm like, we have an issue here. We can't get into the building. And, yeah, it was ugly. It was ugly.
But we're here.
We made it.
I, of course, showed up right on time, which is late for everybody else, but for me, it's always on schedule.
You know what it made me think of? About 20 years ago or so, there was a Monday night football game between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Miami Dolphins. They call it the Mud Bowl because it rained like there was no tomorrow.
I remember that.
Yeah, and the Steelers won 3-0.
Yeah.
That's what happened here today.
3-0.
Yeah.
Field goal, walk-off
Yep,
win.
yep.
I do have one story I'll share with you because I don't think I've ever shared this on this show. Probably like my go-to broadcasting story from all my travels doing play-by-play actually happened at a Big 12 school. It happened at UCF. It was not last season, but the year before, Gus Malzahn's last year, early in the season. So in our broadcasting booths, there are these giant monitors, and usually they're super heavy, right? Not like your traditional like big screen you hang on a wall, like computer monitors, but they're very high tech and bulky and dense. They've got to weigh 20 or 30 pounds. They sit on the edge of the table so that when we're announcing, when we're calling a game, we can see what you can see, the people at home.
Sure.
And then we have other monitors that show us like what might be coming up on a replay or a graphic, the ISO cam. So me and my guy, Lige Douzable, who's a UCF alum, he was super pumped up for this game, right? We're calling this UCF game, and it's an open-aired press box. So there's the windows are up. Like we can reach out and lean forward, and we can see all the fans and everybody that's below us in the entire bounce house environment. Well, Lige didn't realize he was actually bouncing himself throughout the broadcast. He would get really excited about plays, and he'd kind of lean forward on the table, and he'd start pounding the table.
Oh, boy.
And over the course of time, that TV monitor wasn't tipping or wobbling. It was leaving. It was working its way towards the edge of the table. And at one point, finally, mid-sentence, we're on the air, that monitor goes over the edge
Oh, boy.
of the table and out the press box window.
Oh, no.
And there are fans 70 feet below us that had no idea because that monitor had
Oh,
so
my
many
gosh.
cables and wires hooked up to it.
Yeah.
It's hanging out the press box window like full Tom Cruise Mission Impossible.
Oh, my goodness.
So my wife is in the booth with us. She dove into action. Like a split second. So she dives under the broadcast table,
That's impressive.
leans out the window, and starts fishing this like 30-pound monitor up.
So your wife did this.
Like, yes, she looked like she was defusing a bomb.
You know how she was able to do that? You know how wives are able to do that?
They're problem
she's a mom.
solvers.
She's a mom.
Yep.
Moms turn into superwoman when something happens to their kids.
She was like Catwoman.
She went into action. She had to do what she had to do. She was going to make sure that this broadcast was not going to mess up or a 30-pound projector hurt people.
She was supposed to be just there as a spectator. She didn't know she was going to be part of the disaster response team.
Yeah. She came in clutch.
And she did. And like everybody was just stunned. I mean, there's 8 or 9 people in the booth, and nobody knows what to do. She's the one that sprung into action.
She said, I got this.
She had it.
She was like, I'm going to be the Michael Jordan of the emergency response disaster.
And me and Lige, we had to just keep calling the game. So we go
there's
back.
all this commotion going on. And
Punts, and we have to be cool as a cucumber.
wow.
And I went back and I watched it and I listened to it, and you would never know.
Remember the time Kevin Durant said about his mom that you're the real MVP? Your wife was the real MVP.
She was the real MVP.
She came in.
In a meet like tons of street cred.
Lacey, you are the gem.
All the producers are like, "Hey, you should bring your wife to every game." Like she was
Yeah.
a hero in that moment. Everybody that was actually there on payroll, nobody knew what to do.
If she had been here this morning, we would have gotten.
We would have been in the building in 30 seconds.
Exactly.
But that monitor would have killed somebody.
Yeah, that could have been a problem.
No joke.
Yeah,
Those things are heavy. It would have plummeted over 100 feet into the crowd, and it's hanging by like XLRs and HDMI cables. It was wild, dude.
That's insane. Is that your most wild play-by-play experience? Or should I say being in the press box experience?
Probably, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I could come up with others, but we don't have the time, and I don't have the brain capacity to do it right now. But
Fair
that's
enough.
kind of my go-to.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's probably my go-to.
That is a good one.
Yeah. All right, it is a Modelo Monday. What was the highlight of your weekend?
The highlight of my weekend. Well, I thought of you. Actually, I thought of what your daughter said. I bed rotted a lot. I did.
Actually, in bed?
Yes.
I'm not a big in bed guy. I don't know how my wife is always in bed. I can't just hang out in bed.
Yeah,
that is where I sleep.
I was bed rotting for a good chunk of the weekend. I'd say most of Saturday and maybe like a quarter of yesterday.
Do you have a TV in there?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was fun. I was just watching TV and on my phone, not doing much.
Sounds amazing.
It rained a lot, like
Yeah.
out at my house, so I didn't want to really be outside. And outside of that, I mean, I watched NBA Finals on Friday, and I watched baseball on Saturday. So, West Virginia, Country Road.
Dude, you were nap maxing.
I was.
Like nap maxing and bed rotting.
Yeah.
Nicely done.
Thank you.
Fist bump. Good for
Thank
you,
you.
man. All right, so West Virginia's headed to the College World Series. If you are not following along with what's happening in Morgantown, you are missing out on the biggest party in America right now.
It's pretty great.
It is a nationwide craze. Think Sister Jean, Loyola Chicago, 2018. The nation loves them some country
That's a good
roads. My kids are singing country roads. Neighbors are singing country roads. The pool's singing country roads. Nobody has any skin in the game. Nobody's West Virginia alum. Everybody just thinks it's awesome. And they pound Cal Poly 29-3 over the weekend. And here's how it sounded.
Yeah, I have to agree. Yeah, something's literally wrong with you if you do not find that absolutely amazing.
There was a guy in the crowd holding a raccoon right behind home plate.
I don't know how I missed that. I did not see that.
It's at the top of the rundown. You got to check it out. The guy's holding a raccoon.
Huh.
Why am I struggling to say raccoon? I'm not sure, but that's what was happening.
In the video?
Top right.
Top right.
John Boy Media. West Virginia's headed to
Yeah.
the College World Series. Oh, that's the wrong one. Hang on. Don't worry about this. I had it somewhere. I think it got deleted. It happened.
Womp
Trust me.
womp.
There it is. Anthony's got it.
Okay,
Look at the
Anthony's
screen,
man.
Taman.
Anthony's the man. Thank you, Anthony. Wow.
So game one, West Virginia takes down Cal Poly 12-2. They had a designated hitter, Sean Smith, launched a 3-run homer to left field, just the second batter of the game, and the party was off and rolling. They set that tone immediately. On the mound, Chanson Cole struck out 11 over 7 innings through 121 pitches. 121 pitches in a super regional game. Just a workhorse performance. And then game two was even worse for Cal Poly. West Virginia won game two on Saturday 17-1. Like, this thing was over in the second innings. So the second inning, this thing's over. 7 runs, by the way, including a steal of home, back-to-back home runs. The Mountaineers were just steamrolling Cal Poly. there was a lightning delay in the 8th, but nobody left.
No.
It only delayed the celebration.
Exactly.
Phenomenal stuff over the weekend from the Mountaineers. Let's hear from head coach Steve Sabins on just the reflection that he has on all of those before him, because he's a young up-and-comer who made it possible for West Virginia to get to Omaha.
"135 years in the making, so pretty special to be part of something that's never been done in history before. The credit goes to these kids and the players before us and the fans and the supporters and the donors and administration and the folks that cover this and the auxiliary staff. And so many people help build a program. That's what this is a program. And to see the support from the fans and to see the support from the state is something that's beyond special. So couldn't be more excited for our team and one of the last 8 teams standing now. This is why I came here 11 years ago, to be able to have an opportunity to be the best in the world at something, and that's what this university has provided me, an opportunity to do that. And just couldn't be prouder for the kids. This week was storybook, and there's so many things that happened, beginning with the regional, but for Ben McDougal to send us to Omaha is a movie script. So I'm excited for everybody, excited for the kids, and we're going to rest and reset and focus on what's ahead of us.
They will get Troy in Omaha, West Virginia, front and center this weekend. The College World Series Super Regionals, 2 Big 12 programs, both really front and center, because Kansas and Oklahoma, a lot of hype going into that one. One of those 2 programs, West Virginia, celebrating the greatest moment in their program history, and Kansas fighting for their season. As we speak, they will have first pitch of a rain-out game, an elimination game. They're down 8-1. It's in like the 3rd inning. Happens today at noon. We'll take a break, continue this discussion, get you caught up to speed on all the stars. Also, Steve Sabins, is West Virginia, are they the New York Yankees? Got to hear that comp. It actually makes sense. That's around the corner. This is Big 12 Today exclusively on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios, powered by Modelo. Oklahoma State running back Caleb Hawkins joins us in 15 minutes. It is a Modelo Monday here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, powered by our good friends at Modelo. There is no off-season. Off-season means research, and today our Road to Arlington series highlights Utah, the Utah Utes. So in hour number 2, we'll be looking at the biggest question marks, the biggest gamble, trap game, biggest game, 3-game stretch to define the season player they cannot lose, the number, pressure point, and more. For the Utes, on this Modelo Monday, so West Virginia just made their first College World Series in program history. It has been a statewide celebration. Morgantown, West Virginia has delivered one of the best atmospheres that we've ever seen in the history of college baseball, maybe the best. It is sweeping the nation. Here's Coach Steve Sabins on what West Virginia baseball means to that fan base.
You know, half the battle here for the last decade is essentially marketing. You're trying to show people how wonderful this state, this university, this community is, and then you start winning ball games and you try to put that on display. And so that's where, like, our media team, that's where our administration is so critical, is like highlighting what this place is, because this is a special atmosphere, special ballpark, special team, and we've won a lot of games, like a whole lot of games. There's 2 programs in the country that have been to 3 consecutive super regionals. It's us in North Carolina. And so for recruits to know that, for fans to know that, for people in this community to show out for one of the best teams in the country, that's what this program is. It's one of the best teams in the country. Is incredible, and I think all that excitement starts from like a passion of this state. It's a passion for what WVU has going on. This team is the New York Yankees of West Virginia. People grew up watching the Mountaineers and rooting for the Mountaineers, and they spend a big chunk of their paychecks to drive into town and to come watch ball games because it's important to them. And so I'm just thankful for all the fans. I'm thankful for our president, our athletic director, our administration. They have gotten behind baseball 100%. They have decided that this is going to be something that's going to be here to stay for a long time, and they've been dedicated, not only providing the financial resources necessary, but the excitement and the care level, showing up to ball games and being at games and showing our players and our staff that this is important to them, right? And so if you've got a whole bunch of people pulling the rope in the same direction, you got a chance to do something special, and I think there's a high level of belief here in that.
West Virginia headed to their first ever College World Series. The atmosphere has been remarkable. I love the New York Yankees comp from Steve Sabins. West Virginia, if you live in the state of West Virginia, it doesn't matter if you're in Morgantown, it doesn't matter if you're in Huntington where Marshall is located. Like West Virginia, there's no West Virginia State. There's no West Virginia A&M. It is West Virginia. And it's a smaller state. Like population-wise, 1.76 million is the population for the entire state of West Virginia. That is 40th. Out of the 50 states, West Virginia checks in at 40th. So they are the New York Yankees. And I think that's what is probably like when I think about West Virginia, the country roads, the unique passion that their fans have. It is a statewide thing. It is a statewide, unified celebration when they win. Their fans are incredibly passionate, and that's what their number one trait that they bring to the Big 12 is collectively as a school, is that they're the only school in West Virginia. Yes, Marshall's in Huntington, but if you're staying at the Comfort Inn and Suites across the bridge, you're in Ohio. Morgantown is smack dab in the middle of West Virginia, just south of Pittsburgh, and it is that place.
While I do love the comparison, I think it's great. No, I think it's great. I have no criticism of it. Ironically, I think when I saw West Virginia and this country road to Omaha that we've been on, the only thing I can actually say it reminds me of, this is going to be a little ironic what I'm about to say, is actually the Boston Red Sox of 2004. And that's the Yankees' biggest rival, ironically, but I was living in Connecticut when that happened. And I'll never forget it. When the Red Sox came back 3-0 against the Yankees, we had a field trip to Boston like a week or two after that. I don't even think the parade had happened yet. And when I tell you the city of Boston, like, you could not find anyone in the city of Boston who didn't have something Red Sox.
Yeah.
I mean, the entire city. And it just, when I think of West Virginia in this amazing run that they're on and what it's doing for Morgantown and what it's doing for the state of West Virginia, I guarantee you cannot find one person in the state of West Virginia right now who is not like rooting for this baseball team. It's a great story, and yes, they've had a lot of success and all that, but this is, they're going to Omaha for the first time in years.
Ever.
Take years away, ever. So it's an historic run. It's great. I'm happy for them. And like I said, I get the Yankees reference, but like I said, when the Red Sox went to the World Series in 2004, that was their first time in 86 years. So the city, it went nuts. The Yankees had been to a bunch. This is, for this to be West Virginia's first time ever, that's the vibes it gave me.
I like that comp because that wasn't just like a Boston thing. That was a nationwide phenomenon.
Yeah.
This is Sister Jean 2018. This is Jimmer Mania BYU 2011. That's what this is. In West Virginia, so they scored 2 runs in every inning from the 2nd through the 6th in their statement game. Like they pasted Cal Poly in Game 1. Game 2 is even better. They had 19 hits. They stole 9 bases, their most as a team since 2022, and they did it on that stage. Now, Kansas and Oklahoma, Game 2 was suspended due to weather in the bottom of the 3rd inning last night. It resumes today at noon Central on ESPN2. Oklahoma's up 8-1. KU will have to have a monumental comeback to avoid going home. And like Oklahoma showed, this is an Oklahoma team that was below 500 in SEC play, but they showed up and reminded people that they're still Oklahoma. They handed the ball on Saturday morning to a freshman lefty, Cord Rager. He had an ERA north of 5 entering the game. He responded with 6 innings of 1-hit shutout ball, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk. It was one of the gutsiest super regional starts you could ever see from a freshman who had struggled all year long. Highly recruited, highly touted, but had just been in his head. Kansas had just 2 hits through their first 8 innings. And then a 2.5-hour rain delay pushed the start all the way back to 7:30 last night. Then another weather event, they call it. We call them storms where I'm from. A weather event forced a suspension just an hour and 10 minutes in.
Let me ask you this. The 2.5-hour rain delay, when it's like that, obviously it seems to have benefit Oklahoma. But if you're Kansas and, you had a 5 o'clock start time, it starts at 7:30. If you were Dan Fitzgerald, what are you telling your team in a moment like that?
Hang in there.
You're down 1-0. You got to win this game. And now you have this quote-unquote weather event that has really messed up your plans.
So a 2.5-hour delay, to me, that gave Oklahoma an extra 2.5 hours to get looser, more free. They're playing with house money. And for Kansas to get even tighter and tighten up.
So now they're down 8-1. The game's going to resume at noon. Again, if you're Dan Fitzgerald, what are you telling your team today? I mean, now you have only a few innings left, and you're down 8-1. Granted, it's not over, but it's not pretty.
So today, I would think Kansas would play with more freedom today. Because everybody's saying this thing's over. So now it's almost like Kansas is the team that's playing with house money because they're dead in the water. They have nothing to lose. But who are they going to have on the mound? Kansas tied it with a 2-out RBI single. So it's tied at 1 in the 2nd inning. But then the Sooners erupted for 6 runs in the bottom of the 2nd to take that 7-1 lead. Dayton Taki launched a 400-foot bomb to center to make it 8-1, and then they shut the thing down. So it's 8-1 coming into today's noon first pitch. Oklahoma's trying to make its 12th appearance at the College World Series. Kansas, they'll need a miracle finish, but they've already had a hell of a season. Shattered program records, and we'll digest all of that tomorrow based off of what happens today. Real quick, did you watch the NBA Finals?
I did. I am not a Knicks fan or a Spurs fan at all. I can't stand the Spurs, actually. But knowing that I used to live in New York, I've been calling and texting some of my friends in New York who are going insane right now. It is Knicks mania in New York City. It's pretty wild. So, yeah, I did watch Game 2.
So the Knicks are up 2-0 in the series. Game 3 is tonight. The Knicks stole 2 in San Antonio. They won the first one 105-95, and then they won over the weekend 105-104 and really had to fend off a late Spurs rally. But I got to thinking, because all the chatter's been about Wemby and how Karl Anthony Towns has been taking his lunch money and just pushing him around. He's having the series of a lifetime. And I thought, okay, are the Knicks taller? Like outside of Wemby. Wemby's the tallest player in the league, superhuman, but outside of him.
He might be the tallest person in the world.
He's Yao Ming 2.0.
Yeah.
With handles and good feet. The NBA, though, the NBA is the shortest it's been as a league collectively in 39 years. But the way the Knicks are just manhandling the Spurs on the interior makes me wonder if this college shift that we've seen with height mattering is going to carry over into the NBA, because the New York Knicks are the 8th tallest team in the league, and they're the tallest team in the playoffs. All the other teams in front of them are bottom feeders.
Well, it's interesting. I really do believe that no matter how much the game changes, the game of basketball changes, I'm a big believer that when it comes to winning the championship, or when you're in I felt when you're in a finals round, I know when we were at the Final Four or whatever, to me the game goes back to its roots. And usually the bigger team will win if you're playing in a best of game, if you're playing in a game that's, for all the marbles, and it makes sense. Like if you take a bunch of, 8th graders and you play them against 5th graders, I don't care how talented the 5th graders are, the 8th graders are going to win just naturally because they're bigger. In a weird game in the playoffs, we all know that the game of basketball slows down. It becomes more of a half-court type offense. And when you have a more of a half-court type offense, usually it benefits the bigger team. And the New York Knicks, I think we've seen a few things in these finals. They're bigger, they're stronger, and they are more experienced. I mean, you have guys who have been in the NBA Finals, Mikal Bridges. You have guys like Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson who have played in both the Western and Eastern Conference Finals. The Spurs, I don't think any of their starters have been in the NBA Finals. I mean, Stephon Castle played in the national championship game at UConn, but San Antonio has really shown their youth. And as great as Wemby is, Wemby looks like somebody who is 22 years old, a young player. And that's okay. It's a growing period. And granted, the great Yogi Berra once said that it ain't over till it's over. But they are in a very tough position right now, being down 2-0 going to New York tonight.
And Wemby's producing in terms of his scoring, 29 points in Game 2, but Game 1 he shot 28% from the floor.
That's not good.
6 of 21, way below his season average. And Karl Anthony Towns had 21 points, 13 rebounds, 70% from the floor. Mikal Bridges gave him 20 points on 8 of 13. And again, he's a taller, more physical, 6'7" wing player. Mitchell Robinson, you noted him on Friday during the show, and that name caught my ear because I was watching the Knicks in the Sixers series. He single-handedly closed out, I think it was Game 4 on his own. And I'm like, who is this massive specimen? He's 7 foot, 250. He's built like a brick house from Western Kentucky.
Yeah.
He was a 4-star recruit. He was like a top 40 player nationally, and he stayed home. He signs with Western Kentucky out of high school, gets drafted in the 2nd round. In 2017, I said top 40. Let me clarify. According to Basketball Reference, he was the number 8 ranked player in the country coming out of high school in 2017. Goes to Western Kentucky, 2nd round pick by the Knicks, 36 overall. And on this stage, he's only playing 15 or 20 minutes, but his impact has been huge.
Very, very productive and very efficient. And it's crazy because Knicks fans love him. And he's the guy that we always say in basketball, when you look at the stat sheet, it's never going to be lit up, but he makes an impact. Very huge impact.
You know what his nickname is?
No.
The Block Ness Monster.
Block Ness Monster. Wow, I like it. I'm a fan. I like it.
So, yeah, that height matters trend from college basketball is carrying over to the NBA.
We saw it with Michigan. We
saw it with Arizona until they played Michigan.
Right. A team that was bigger than them.
A lot of Big 12 teams are tooling up in the same way, including Houston and Iowa State for this upcoming season. All right, Caleb Hawkins, the Oklahoma State running back, we chatted with him on Friday. He's going to be our interview coming up next before we deep dive the road to Arlington. The Utah Utes are in about 20 minutes here on Big 12 Today. This is Big 12 Radio, heard on TuneIn, powered by Modelo, and watched on Big 12 Studios.
Jordan Tyson. He found Tyson. Airborne. Got it.
Get downhill fairly quickly.
And big shoes to fill with Cam Scatterbo now in the NFL. Looking for the corner and a catch. Touchdown, ASU. Malik Brown takes his turn. Off play action. Levitt's playing Frogger back there. Oh, he found Tyson. Airborne. Got it. Outrageous.
That's been outstanding time from that college's defense. Levitt throws a laser. It's caught. It's Tyson. It's touchdown.
Responds. Another fourth down forthcoming.
Touchdown. Touchdown. Tyson.
Sam Levitt back at the switch. They motion out of the pistol. Play fake. Going vertical. Tyson the target. Contested catch through two. One of the best in college football. Gets the night started in Tempe. ASU offsides. It worked until it didn't. Now, on a little end around, give into the end zone. Tyson touchdown.
with Taman Turner. I'm James Westling. T-Chain's in for Artie today. Really excited to welcome in a kid who just has an incredible story here on Big 12 Radio and Big 12 Studios. Caleb Hawkins, the number one portal running back in the country, follows his coach from North Texas to Oklahoma State. And Caleb, you had three offers out of high school: North Texas, Central Oklahoma, and Emporia State. And a year later, you're setting freshman touchdown records. You're an All-American. You're the most coveted running back in the portal. So what did last year feel like for you?
I mean, it felt very surreal. I mean, there was some times where I was like in disbelief of how well we were doing. I obviously had confidence that we had the ability to do that, but I mean, it was just super exciting, a very roller coaster of a ride, and we just continued to do what we were supposed to do every week.
Well, you follow your coach, Eric Morris, to Oklahoma State. Walk us through that process and why Oklahoma State when, I mean, that shows a lot of loyalty on your side, number one. I mean, you probably could have gone anywhere in the country. So really excited to have you in the league. Take us through the decision process that you went through.
I mean, coming out of North Texas, knowing Coach was coming to OSU, and then me and him had a great connection at North Texas. So when I felt like it was a no-brainer coming to Oklahoma State, especially because I grew up in Oklahoma. And when my running backs coach made the decision, it was just like, I mean, everything was coming together. Like my two coaches are going to the same school, and they were always there for me. They gave me the opportunity to come play college ball and everything. So just felt like a no-brainer coming here.
Caleb, I'm going to list some of these achievements that you achieved just last season. You were the NCAA FBS statistical champion. You were on the All-America second team, All-America third team, freshman All-American team, American Conference Rookie of the Year, and the All-American Conference first team. So, again, welcome to the Big 12. What are your personal goals this season at Oklahoma State, and what is Oklahoma State's team goals?
I would say specifically for me, I would like to help my team in every way possible. I just I want to continue to grow as a player and a person. So coming into this season, I want to just set a goal of being there for my team at all times and, you know, helping them win every opportunity we get. And I would say as a whole, our team is here to win. So we don't really have any other goal other than to continue to win, continue to grow, and continue to be great human beings and football players throughout the season.
Caleb, what are you working on most during this offseason? Is it getting stronger, getting faster, route running because you're an excellent pass catcher out of the backfield? Like, what if you were to hone in on two or three things? Take us through your conditioning program and what those two or three things would be.
I would say you list them very well. I want to get stronger. I want to be faster. You know, I'm in a bigger conference now. You know, so I need to grow to become bigger, stronger, faster. You know, well route runner so I can get past defenders. Work on my vision, my pass blocking ability because players tend to get bigger once you get in bigger conferences. But yeah, I just want to make sure everything's covered. But I would say if I had to hone in on one thing, I would probably say there was a little question on everybody's thoughts on my speed. So I want to showcase that I do have that kind of speed.
Caleb, James had mentioned to you how, and you had mentioned back to us how you followed Eric Morris to Oklahoma State. You have another buddy. You have a lot of buddies there, but one buddy in particular is Drew Mestamaker. How comfortable and how did him coming as well make you feel comfortable about your decision?
I mean, me and Drew grew a lot over last season, so him coming here just made it like I said earlier, it was like a no-brainer. Like I felt so comfortable around him, knowing like his abilities to throw and get us out of sticky situations. So I just thought if I have a quarterback like that I can block for and run routes for, then it should be match made in heaven.
We're chatting with Caleb Hawkins, the Oklahoma State running back. He joins us here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, exclusively on TuneIn, watched on the Big 12 Fast channel, Big 12 Studios. And your coach, Eric Morris, he flagged your basketball skills as a big part of what made you so attractive as a recruit when he recruited you out of Shawnee, Oklahoma, one of just 3 offers to play football at North Texas. We've seen the tape. Like T-Chains, this guy's a high flyer.
Okay.
No joke.
I like it.
Okay?
I like it.
He's got the hammer. What did basketball teach you, or how did that translate to what you're able to bring to a football field as a running back?
I will say basketball takes a lot of integrity, a lot of confidence because, you got to have confidence to shoot the ball, have confidence to drive in and know that you can score at any moment. I will say that the conditioning helped me a lot in my football career. So making sure that I could run for a long period of time helped me. And just that's overall all I got.
Caleb, growing up, who were the running backs that you looked at that you wanted to emulate?
I will say that I was a huge fan of Le'Veon Bell, but I feel like I tried to model my game more for Marshawn Lynch because I enjoyed the way he played, breaking tackles. And my favorite candy growing up was Skittles, so seeing him always have that thing was very enjoyable for me growing up.
What role does Skittles, do those play in your life today? Are you like eating those on the sidelines, having them before games, post-game celebration? Are you still into the Skittles?
It's more of a post-game celebration. I enjoy having them during the week, of course, but after a game, it's just great to have those in my back pocket, just to have after.
James had mentioned that you have an amazing ability to play the game of basketball. Who did you emulate your basketball game off of? Who are you? Who do you imitate?
I don't know if I can really imitate anybody that's that good at basketball, but I would say that I watched a lot of Russell Westbrook growing up. I really loved him. Obviously, being from Oklahoma, like that was our guy growing up. So I'd always try to run to the rim and try to dunk on everybody because that's what he did.
Russ, I love it. I have to ask this because it's currently going on. Who you got in the NBA Finals?
I'm gonna say, as much as it hurt for them to beat us, I think San Antonio is gonna end up taking it home.
I agree with you.
They got an uphill climb. We'll see how it goes. Talking with Caleb Hawkins here on Big 12 Radio. Caleb, a kid from Shawnee, Oklahoma. Now you're like less than 60 miles from where you grew up in Stillwater. What does it mean to you to be able to play essentially in your backyard in Stillwater, Oklahoma, on any given Saturday?
I mean, it feels great. It's unbelievable that my family is only around an hour away. Like, I get to see them all the time, a lot more than I did in North Texas. But knowing that I'm playing in my backyard, I feel like my family's closer. I really have people to back me up every day in my life. Like, anytime I need them, I can call them and they can be there at any moment.
How does it feel knowing that some of the accomplishments that you made in your previous conference, now that you have those goals for the Big 12, what are your Big 12 goals and accomplishments?
I mean, I obviously would love to win a Big 12 conference championship. That's the number one goal, is to win throughout this season, continue to win. And I would love to make some kind of honors, of course, like first team, second team, anything that God gives me the ability to succeed with.
We're talking with Caleb Hawkins here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. Star running back, headed to Oklahoma State after an incredible record-breaking freshman campaign at North Texas. So you're with your coach, Eric Morris. You brought up the running backs coach, Patrick Cobbs. You also played for a legendary high school coach, Gary Higgins, who is he's in the Oklahoma Coaches Hall of Fame now. He's coached for over 50 years. Who are the coaches that have had the biggest influence on who you are as a player and as a person?
I would say Coach Higgins was a very impactful coach when I was in high school. I mean, he always looked out for me. He always called me, made sure I was good, mentally, physically, all the above. I would say Coach Cobbs and Coach Morris obviously check in on me periodically to make sure that I'm good and well-being. So I would say those three have definitely made a big impact on my life for sure. I'd also like to give shout-outs to all my other high school coaches, Coach Birch, Coach Murray, Coach Davis, Coach Horton. They all played significant life-changing things.
Man, that's awesome. Caleb Hawkins with us here on Big 12 Radio. With Coach Morris, I got to know Coach Morris quite a bit calling games when you guys were at North Texas. Have you seen – we've already had him on our show now since he's got the Oklahoma State job. Seems like the same old coach. Have you seen any changes now that, he's gone from up-and-comer group of 5 to at a major program with a ton of history, or is it the same old Coach Morris?
See Coach Morris, I mean, he's just, very impactful when it comes to football. He continues to, show us that we need to win. We have to keep going. He's an amazing coach. He gets close in and personal with everybody and makes sure that everybody feels welcome, everybody feels like they're at home, and we just continue to grow as a family here.
Caleb, last one from me. Being at Oklahoma State, they have a very deep running back legacy. They have Chuba Hubbard, Justice Hill, and obviously the famous Barry Sanders. Are we going to see Caleb Hawkins up on that list as well?
I very much hope so. I have confidence in myself that I can succeed at a very high level, and I know my limits, and I know that I can do anything through Christ who strengthens me. So I can just continue to I don't know how to say this. Just succeed in all. I just know I can make some impactful decisions here.
Awesome, Caleb. Man, we cannot wait to see you in the Big 12 in front of that crowd in Boone Pickens Stadium in Stillwater, Oklahoma. You're a great story, an incredible season last year, and cannot wait to see what you do for an encore. Best of luck this season. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll probably talk to you here at Football Media Days in about a month.
I'll see you there. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks,
Caleb
Caleb.
Hawkins. Great kid, star running back at Oklahoma State. Big expectations for the Pokes. Him and Mestemaker coming with Eric Morris, Wyatt Young, the wide receiver. That's the three-headed monster headed to Stillwater, Oklahoma for Oklahoma State. Again, he had 3 offers, 3 out of high school. 2 of them were Division II schools. He had North Texas, he had Central Oklahoma, and he had Emporia State. And he was a really good high school football player, but he was at a small school in a small town in the middle of Oklahoma, about 60 miles straight south of Stillwater. An incredible rise to essentially stardom for Caleb Hawkins.
Plays at the line of scrimmage longer
Back here on Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio, powered by our friends at Modelo. You just heard our interview with Caleb Hawkins, the Oklahoma State running back who set FBS freshman scoring records this past year at North Texas. Assuming he'll be at Big 12 Media Days, we'll catch up with him again here in about a month. He is T-Change, Taman Turner, in for Artie today. I'm James Westling. That brings us to hour number 2 of the program, and each and every day for the past, 3 weeks now? Almost a month, we've been doing the Road to Arlington series, highlighting a different Big 12 school each and every day, a deep dive breakdown. And today, we head out to Salt Lake City to highlight the Utah Utes. They've got a new coach, Morgan Scalley. Here's what Scalley said about the challenges that he's facing, taking over for a legend in Kyle Whittingham, that he's already tackling those challenges.
I would say young men understanding their value. Your value isn't necessarily attached to a dollar figure. You have to be very clear about what you want. You know, what are the young men that we want coming into our program? And if it's those men that the dollar figure is always number one, is that what we want? You know, versus the guys that are about the team. And that's so difficult nowadays.
Yeah, I think that's a very, I like that from a coach to say, you know, a young man's value. Is it about money? Is it about football? And to be honest, let's be honest, it's about both, you know, but knowing what your value is or what it could be, your potential, I think that's important if I'm a player and wanting to see that, knowing that I can see that this coach wants the best out of me.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Utah was 11-2 last year. They finished a top 14 team in the country. They won their bowl game, the Las Vegas Bowl. But then Kyle Whittingham walked out the door after 21 years, and he took his offensive coordinator with him. So now longtime coach in waiting, Morgan Scalley, he's running the show. Brand new OC, brand new defensive coordinator, and a rebuilt offensive line. So with the biggest question marks for this Utah team, they've got their quarterback back in Devin Dampier. Ficklin has also returned. He was kind of their gadget guy last year. But I think the biggest question mark is that offensive line. When you have 2 first-round NFL draft picks, Spencer Fano went number 9 overall to the Browns. Caleb Lomu went number 28 to New England. First time in program history that Utah had 2 first-round NFL draft picks in the same draft, and they were both offensive linemen. So that's my biggest question mark. These are all-American type guys, all-league guys. Lomu allowed 0 sacks in 357 pass blocking opportunities. Remember that number, T-Change, 357, okay?
Okay.
Because the projected starting left tackle is either going to be a true freshman, who's the highest-rated recruit in Utah history, or it's going to be Zeroe Williams, who played in just over 100 snaps last year. 156 snaps on the offensive line, and 101 of those were run-blocking snaps. Lomu leaves, Fano leaves, over 300 snaps at offensive tackle, and the guy that they've got expected to replace those 2 guys, barely over 50 snaps that were passing opportunities. He's been in the program. His first year at Utah was 2021, talking Williams, but he's battled injuries, and his backup is a true freshman. So that's the first, position group that I look at as a major question mark, and specifically that tackle position. Now, what's encouraging for Utah is that Jordan Gross is now their offensive line coach. Former Carolina Panthers All-Pro tackle, Utah legend. But he's making his collegiate coaching debut. Elite NFL resume, but 0 college reps. And Morgan Scalley has said plainly that the offensive line, it's all about the development of the guys that they've already had in the program. They only added 1 portal guy on the offensive line. That's a huge question mark for me.
I have to agree with you. I mean, whenever you lose Spencer Fano or Caleb Lamu, and you lost them both in the first round. They were spectacular talents. For them to both be gone, that's going to, be different for Devin Dampier. I have to give Morgan Scalley credit for keeping both Devin Dampier and Bird Ficklin, because when Kyle Whittingham walked out the door, you could literally make the argument like, oh, they're gone too. But continuity on the offensive line is a question, because how will Devin Dampier, who is a more conservative type quarterback, you're going to have less time most likely, especially early on. How are you going to excel like you did last year? I think that's a very valid question mark.
For the biggest gamble, and I with Utah, with all the unknowns, there were a lot to choose from here. I went with the new offensive coordinator. So let me tell you about Kevin McGiven. McGiven is trying to replicate an offense that was very underrated last year. Like, Utah was 5th in the country in scoring offense last year. They were 2nd nationally in rushing yards per game. Like, Jason Beck in 1 year built that machine. So now they bring in McGiven, who comes over from Utah State. His offense ranked 2nd in the Mountain West. They scored 32 points per game. He's got 25 years of coaching experience, 17 seasons as a Division I coordinator, but it's never been at a Power 4 level. So he has the resume and the pedigree and the history, but he hasn't done it on this stage. Now, there is one built-in advantage. Utah State transfer wide receiver Braden Pagan is coming with him, and he's maybe Utah's number 1 portal get. He had almost 1,000 yards. He had 5 touchdowns. So one playmaker comes with McGiven and already speaks the language, but that's probably my biggest gamble is the OC. Like, he inherits a lot of things, a lot of traits that he wasn't using at Utah State. That Rhino package, that tight end package where they bring in 8 tight ends. He's already said that that's a new weapon that he's excited to deploy, but his Utah State's offenses looked very different schematically than what Utah was running last year. So that's probably the biggest gamble for me is the new OC.
If you're Devin Dampier and now you're being coached by Kevin McGiven, knowing that your offense has changed a bit, what do you tell him, or what does Kevin McGiven even tell Devin Dampier to circle around an offense that Devin Dampier feels comfortable with?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're Kevin McGiven, what do you say to Devin Dampier in that notion?
Right.
And I think that is a gamble. Knowing, I know we mentioned the offensive line, Spencer Fano, Caleb Ahmed, they're not there. That's going to be a question mark. Can he average what Utah averaged last year? They averaged 41.2 points per game. That's a lot of points.
Yeah.
They averaged 266.3 rushing yards. A lot of that had to do with the offensive line. And listen, I don't think Kevin McGiven has to come in and totally replicate that. It's a different offense. But can you still have a strong rushing game that complements Devin Dampier?
Mm-hmm. I think the health of Devin Dampier is going to be huge, too.
Very true.
All right, when you look at...
Although, real quick, Bird Ficklin can run, too.
Yes, he can.
He can run.
Yes, he can.
Yeah.
More on him in a bit. Trap game. Biggest trap game for the Utes. I look at Utah's schedule, and, man, I like it. I like it a lot because they don't play Texas Tech. They play BYU at home. Probably their toughest road game is at Arizona or at TCU. Their schedule shapes up for them to start undefeated before their bye week on October 3rd. Idaho, Arkansas, Utah State, all at home. Arkansas, I think they're going to be fine there. They've got a first-year head coach, a new roster. I think Utah in Salt Lake City has no problems with the Razorbacks. Utah State, rivalry, but Utah's got all the talent. Then they're at Iowa State to open Big 12 play. Then they have a bye. I have their biggest trap game, Kansas, which is Saturday, October 10th, because it's off a bye, but then it's right before their schedule really ramps up with a road game at Colorado, Houston at home 2 weeks later, and then at Cincinnati, and then BYU, Arizona, TCU. Probably the easiest game on their schedule during that stretch should be a home game against Kansas. And KU's sneaky with Andy Kotelnicki, the offensive coordinator, reunited with Lance Leipold and everybody else at Kansas. Like, KU has won games in this spot. Remember, 2 years ago, they went and won at BYU late in the year, essentially knocking BYU out of the college football playoff conversation. Utah should enter that game 5-0. Kansas, playing with house money on the road in Salt Lake City, that's my biggest trap game for the Utes.
I hear you, and I'm looking at their schedule, and they're playing. I just think it's interesting because they're going to play Kansas at home. They go on the road to Colorado. They're going to play Houston at home. They're going to play Cincinnati on the road. Is it possible, just because they have to play Houston, they have to go on the road at Cincinnati, is it possible that Colorado could be that trap game?
Yes, and that's the other game that I looked at. Because if you pound Kansas and then you get ready for that brutal 3 or 4 game stretch, Colorado then becomes the trap game. Mm-hmm. It's in Boulder, going to be a rowdy crowd. Colorado, by that point in time, with all their non-conference, power conference opponents, could be like 500 or worse going in and really need that one. Love that pick too. The biggest game on their schedule, this is a no-brainer, right? It's BYU, the Holy War. The date on that one this year is Saturday, November 7th, and it's back in Salt Lake City. BYU has won 3 straight in the series. The first time that the Cougs, that BYU has done that since they won 4 in a row from 1989 to 1992. Last year's game was another ranked matchup, Big 12 title implications on the line, big noon kickoff on Fox. It was maybe the most important Holy War ever played, and BYU, even with a freshman quarterback, won it. Remember, Bear Bachmeier had that 22-yard scramble on 3rd and 11 with the game on the line. Utah had more total yards than BYU, but they lost the turnover battle. They went 1 for 5 on 4th down. They kept going for it on 4th down. They had 2 failed attempts inside the 20. They had a 3rd failed 4th down attempt inside the 30. That game was right there for Utah for the taking, and they squandered it. So now they're going to be out for blood.
Let me ask you this, because I remember during last year's Holy War, Kalani Sitake talked about his relationship with Kyle Whittingham a lot. And Morgan Scalley and Kalani Sitake are friends. They've known each other for a long time. Now they're straight-up competitors because they're both – Morgan Scalley's now a head coach. So I have to ask, and yes, I do believe that this is the big game. This is the Holy War. Nobody can deny that. I have to ask this. If you're Utah, can Morgan Scalley win this game?
Yes.
Will he win this game? Can and will are different.
Total coin flip. That game's in November. It's later on the calendar this year than I think it was last year. Remember, last year, I believe this game was played early October. So both teams were rolling, but it didn't have the stakes that I see looking at both teams' schedules that it will this year. Which brings us to our biggest 3-game stretch for Utah. BYU is the lead for me, and then I go at Arizona and at TCU, changing from what I sent you originally. Because BYU, Arizona, and TCU, I think all 3 of those teams are top 5 programs this year and top 5 teams in the Big 12. I'm starting to really love what TCU's done. And then they've got West Virginia to wrap up the season. That 3-game stretch, that's BYU, brutal. Arizona, and TCU, that's what will separate Utah from being a Big 12 title team and playing in the Big 12 championship game in Arlington, or being another Las Vegas Bowl type team just outside the college football playoff.
I have to agree that is a very tough stretch. That BYU-Utah game is always going to be tough because it's the Holy War. Then you got to go on the road to Arizona. You got to go to Fort Worth and take on TCU. That is brutal. Now, I'm not saying before that is easy. Playing at Colorado, playing Utah, playing at Cincinnati, that's not easy either. But kind of like you said, this late in the game in November, that's your make or break on if you're going to go to Arlington or not.
Yep, totally. All right, coming up next, this is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. It is our Road to Arlington series. How do these teams get to Arlington? We are looking at the Utah Utes. Steve Bartle, the Utah reporter for KSL Sports, joins us in about 20. But up next, the one player Utah cannot lose. Their hidden strength, a unit that nobody's talking about. The number, a stat that could define the season. Pressure point, who has the pressure this year for Utah and what success actually looks like. He's T-Chains, I'm James. This is Big 12 Radio, powered by Modelo.
This is a defense that came in top 5 in the country in sacks. Bray gets another touch, breaks another tackle, cuts it back, and finally is going to... For this this Utah offense, I think he has done a tremendous job coming over from New Mexico.
Yeah, coming in from the Lobos. There goes Parker. Way shot. Show me the way to the end zone.
Plus. It wasn't hurdles, it was like steeplechase. Parker for 12 now. In stride. Blowing wet football. Rodgers carries, and it's a first down. Opportunity to get points before the half. Dampier was trying to set that up and was very patient. And look at Dampier with the power burst. He ran through a couple different
Back inside Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio. Brought to you, the full-time fan, by Modelo. The off-season, there is no off-season with our friends at Modelo. The off-season means research, and we do it each and every day here on Big 12 today. This man is Taman Turner. I'm James Westling. The Utah Utes are the team that we focus on today. Steve Bartle will be with us in about 15 minutes. So let's dive back in. Part 2, the one player that Utah cannot lose. I don't go with Devin Dampier because his backup's really good in Bird Ficklin. I go with running back Wayshawn Parker. There's too many unknowns on the offensive line. I wouldn't know which guy to highlight that they cannot lose. So I go with the school's all-time leading rusher. All the great running backs that Utah's had. Zach Moss, who's been on this program. Wayshawn Parker is the guy that leads them for career rushing yards and rushing touchdowns. They averaged 51 points and won by 27 in the games in which Wayshawn Parker rushed for 100. When he was over the century mark, and he did it 4 straight games down the stretch, he was a bell cow. 145 against Colorado, 104 against Cincinnati, 129 against Baylor, went for 100 against Kansas State. But he never got more than 20 carries in any game last season. He only averaged 11 and a half carries per game. Now, the new offensive coordinator, Kevin McGivern, has already said he's capable of getting more carries than what he got last year. So his usage rate is going to be up much more from what it was last season. He'll be a true every down back, especially when you look at the backups or lack thereof in terms of guys they brought in via the portal. He's also a pass-catching threat. He had 13 grabs last year, 3 receiving touchdowns. So for me, with the offensive line inexperienced, Dampier having a really good backup, the defense is all off to Michigan with Whittingham. I go with Wayshawn Parker, the running back.
Yeah, I think this is a good pick that you've chosen, Wayshawn Parker. We just talked about Utah's offensive line, their question mark, right? We talked about if for Kevin McGivern, for this offense to be well, to do a similar job like it did last season, that the running game has to be strong. If it's not strong, that's going to be a problem. Devin Dampier, as good as he is, like you mentioned, we saw what Bird Ficklin did last year when Devin Dampier wasn't available, when he was injured. So for the running game, it has to be strong. The Utah offense, we talked so much about that offensive line, but the offensive line was the engine, but the running back was the gasoline. It made that car run. It made that offense run. So I agree with you. Wayshawn Parker, he's got to be strong. He's got to be available.
The hidden strength. This is maybe the most excited I've been. Any team, any player, any position. The hidden strength for Utah is Bird Ficklin, the backup quarterback. Nobody nationally is talking about this kid because everybody's locked in on Devin Dampier. But as a true freshman last year, Bird Ficklin threw for over 300, 3 touchdowns, had a really nice passing stat line as a backup. But he had 10 rushing touchdowns, over 500 yards. Like 10 rushing touchdowns as a backup freshman quarterback, that's more than a lot of starting running backs in this league. That is a really mind-blowing stat line. So there's no longer like any worry about if Dampier goes down, who's the backup going to be. And Utah's going to figure out a way to have him on the field with Devin Dampier. They have 2 freakishly athletic quarterbacks. Morgan Scalley said it himself. We've got 2 guys that can throw the ball, 2 guys that can run the ball. That's something we are going to utilize. Bird Ficklin is going to be on the field this season, and it's not just going to be in like mop-up duty like it was at times last year. This kid's good enough to start at probably half the schools in the Big 12, and he's going to be the backup at Utah. Like, he is a weapon hiding in plain sight.
One thing that you forgot to mention about Bird Ficklin is that he averaged 8.4 yards per carry last season. He had 61 attempts, 513 yards, and as you mentioned, the 10 touchdowns. That's insane. And again, you talk about this run game. We mentioned it earlier, how he can run. Wayshawn Parker has to be there. Bird Ficklin has to be there. I mean, he can really take this offense and kind of make it explosive And we saw that last year with the glimpses of it. It's so funny how we mentioned the Holy War. I remember this being talked about last year. There's a bear and a bird in the state of Utah, and they're both pretty good.
Really good. Okay, that brings us to the number. The number that I pulled is 266.3. Utah averaged 266.3 rushing yards per game last season. Second most in the entire country. They crushed school records for yards, touchdowns, but that production, a lot of it was built on arguably the best offensive line in the entire country. Now you've got 2 first-round NFL tackles gone, 3 other experienced interior linemen graduating, gone, offensive coordinator, gone. So that number for me is also the number to watch this year. Like if Utah's still hitting 200 a game, they don't have to be 266. 200, they'd still be a top 10 rushing offense in the country. Like that offense is working, the offensive line is ahead of schedule, and they will be a title contender. But if they're like 150 to 200, that's a massive drop.
100 yards.
From where they were last year.
Yeah, it's 100 yards less. That's huge in a football game.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a good number that you chose, 266.3. That's what they averaged last year, number 2 in the country, as you mentioned. I think that Utah definitely has the talent to do it, or to average something similar to it. But like you said, the offensive line, we don't know. We don't. The Kevin McGivern, the offensive coordinator, we don't know. That's why we questioned it. But listen, Kevin McGivern, he's ran good offenses in the past, and we don't have a reason to believe outside of just not knowing that he can't do it this season here at Utah.
Right. All right, the pressure point for Utah, it has to be Morgan Scalley, because Scalley has been in the program 19 years, every single one of them as an assistant under Whittingham. He got his first, taste of coaching as the head coach in that Las Vegas Bowl after Whittingham stepped down. He led Utah to that 44-21 win over Nebraska. He's got one win. It's one game. Nebraska had a lot of guys out, but now he owns everything, and he inherits a program that has really high expectations. You go 11-2, you finish top 14 in the country. You've got your both quarterbacks back. You've got your running back back. Like that on paper, people just assume, hey, that's going to be another double-digit winning season for Utah.
In this very weird way, I think of Morgan Scalley similar to how I think of Colin Klein, that you kind of been given everything that you need around you that fits you, so everything is on you. I mean, a lot of the times when you get a new coach, the quarterback and a lot of the players go with them. Mm-hmm. This isn't necessarily the case with Morgan Scalley. He's gotten both quarterbacks back. The guys who left a lot, or I don't want to say all the guys. The guys who there are guys who left who went to the NFL. I mean, that's going to happen. But yeah, I agree with you. I mean, even though I think it's a lot because Kyle Whittingham did leave, kind of left them a gold mine. This is not something you're not restarting. You're not rebuilding from scratch. Yeah, there are some things that you have to paste together, but that was going to be the case regardless. Anytime Kyle Whittingham left.
Yeah, roster turnover. Probably, even though like Whittingham took Smith Snowden, he took some studs from the defensive side of the football. But in terms of collective like numbers and retention, for Utah, it's a lot higher than it would have been had they hired outside the family.
Right, absolutely.
Had they hired a brand new outsider. He promoted a defensive coordinator who had been the linebackers coach since 2019, but he's never called plays. He's never called plays at this level. Colton Swan will be the DC, and Scalley has said that he's trying to be as hands-off as possible. He doesn't necessarily, will he get credit if Utah has a 9 or a 10-win season for what winning? I don't feel like it's going to be more Whittingham built this, you're just carrying that legacy on, versus if it all falls apart, Morgan Scalley is going to be blamed for it. It's not going to be Whittingham's fault. It's going to be Morgan Scalley's, even if that isn't necessarily the case. Okay, let's see. Success. What does success actually look like for Utah. They won 11 games last year. So I don't know how you don't have 9 or 10 wins as that benchmark again. When you don't have Texas Tech on the schedule, when you play BYU at home, 10 wins to me is the benchmark, because Utah, with what they were doing towards the tail end of their Pac-12 tenure, going to Rose Bowls, the whole Cam Rising stuff that was going on towards the end of that era, they expect to be in the college football playoff and be in that conversation every year. So I think 10 wins is success. 10 wins would have them right on that cut line to me.
I agree. I think that's at a minimum too. I mean, at 10 wins or more, that's what success looks like. This is a team that saw Texas Tech in front of them, saw BYU in front of them, and they feel like they're just as good. They feel like their program, you can make the argument, they might feel that they're better than both BYU and Texas Tech. They still think that they have the rushing game, that they have the quarterbacks. Their schedule is a little crazy in November, but I don't think that they're looking at their schedule and saying we're afraid. They think that they are talented enough, despite some of the questions that they have, to piece this together to win a Big 12 championship.
All right, why they will and why they won't win the Big 12. I think the path for them is that Wayshawn Parker does his thing. He should be a 1,000-yard rusher. The rebuilt offensive line has to gel. If that's fully cohesive and gelled by like mid-October, when the schedule really ramps up, and then McGivens' scheme and just that fit, if they're able to keep defenses off balance with that Dampier, Ficklin, 2-quarterback wrinkle. Like, Devin Dampier finished last year as the 3rd highest graded quarterback in the league per Pro Football Focus. He had 24 touchdowns, only 5 picks. Everything that he wasn't at New Mexico, he was and more at Utah. Had almost 1,000 yards rushing. Like, he's already proven that he can carry an offense. He just needs a little bit of help in front of him on the offensive line. I think the receivers are better than they were. I love the Pagan addition from Utah State. He is a speedster. So that's the path for me. And then that gauntlet late in the year, that would be the biggest chunk of their schedule. BYU, TCU, and Arizona, that 3-game stretch is key for me.
Yeah.
And I don't think you have to win all 3. You go 2-1, I think you're in the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what success or how they win the Big 12. Yeah, Wayshawn Parker has to stay healthy. He has to pretty much ball out, kind of like he did last season. And I think he's capable of doing that. And I think the transition to Kevin McGivern will be fine, because he knows how to run a good offense. He's proven that. It's not like that's something that we're questioning, or, the questions that we have are on some of the roster that he's walking into, but it's not like this is a team that Kevin McGivern has ever coached a team that could score. Mm-hmm. So, he stays healthy. You see the dual threat of Bird Ficklin and Devin Dampier. If they do all that, I think they'll be fine. I think they'll definitely be in that competition with BYU and Texas Tech.
And McGivern only spent 1 year at Utah State. Before that, he was the OC for 6 years at San Jose State. Part of that under Brent Brennan. They had some really good San Jose State teams. They won 38 games and went to bowl games 4 of the 5 seasons, won the Mountain West Championship when he was the OC there. All right, why they won't? For me, it's just too much new, too fast. You lose 2 tackles to the NFL draft, both first-round picks, one of them a top 10 pick. Like, the first time in program history that Utah's had 2 first-round picks in the same year. That's the anchor of the offensive line, completely gone. And then you've got 3 new coordinators. You've got a new head coach. You've got a new OC. You've got a new defensive coordinator. In a conference where there's been a lot of coaching retention the last couple of seasons, I would say. And some really, West Virginia's added a veteran offensive line coach. There are programs all over that have really upgraded their staffs, I would say. Houston's got everybody back. Texas Tech's got all their coaches back. BYU's got their coaches back outside of Jay Hill. For me, that's a lot to ask. All that roster, coaching, turnover, it's got to click in a lot of different areas So that would be my path for why Utah won't be in Arlington.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. Losing too much too fast, that's could be a problem. And look, Spencer Fano, when you lose him, it's not just losing anybody. I mean, he is a stud. He's not there anymore. The three coordinators coming in, that's a lot. Even though Utah's good, we know that they will be good. Are they better than Texas Tech or BYU based on all the turnover that they have to do, or that they have going for them? If that all doesn't click as fast as everyone kind of came in, that could be a problem.
Steve Bartles coming up next, the Utah reporter for KSL Sports. We'll ask him some of these questions about Utah football, the road to Arlington, the Utah Utes. We're live on Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio, powered by Modelo, heard exclusively on TuneIn.
Scrambling, throws across his body, and it's intercepted. The senior, Lander Barton. Henderson in the pocket. Free runner coming. He's drilled. Lander Barton right up the gut. Hammered him. Utah doing this against a good run defense the last couple of years. Flies in there to Lander Barton. All the defensive guys involved. Snowden and Barton both a touchdown. Blitz comes. Anderson's throw. It's knocked out. John Henry Daly got the ball out.
Steve Bartle, host of Blockcast Pod, covers Utah football, basketball, and more for KSL Sports. He joins us part of our Road to Arlington, Utah series today. And Steve, Morgan Scally takes over. 2 first-round NFL draft picks, first time in school history that 2 guys get drafted in the first round from Utah in the same year. So let's start there with the offensive line. What can you tell us about how camp went in the spring and just the guys that are expected to fill those massive voids? How are you feeling about that group?
Yeah, with Utah's offensive line, obviously when you lose 2 first-round talents, any position group is going to take a hit, right? Caleb Lomu, Spencer Fano were fantastic offensive tackles for Utah. Came in and lived up to the hype as, highly touted blue-chip prospects a few years back. That's always tough to replace, but, with offensive line, it's an interesting group because Bill Connolly has talked about this a lot, and, he's done a fantastic job with his SP+, but he's always been of the mindset that offensive line groups that are built together primarily through, the high school recruiting and development within the program and not so much through the transfer portal, those groups tend to perform really well when you see a lot of turnover, right? And that's what Utah has. They did go into the portal and landed 2 offensive linemen, Cedric Jefferson from the FCS champion Montana State program. He's got a lot of experience. Isaiah Kema, an offensive lineman from Ohio State. But, the majority of, I guess, I don't want to call it Utah's success this spring with the offensive line, but a lot of the positive developments came from guys that have been in the program now for 2-3 seasons. And guys like Zeraway Williams, who's been with the program since 2021, he's battled through injuries, but he really looked solid at left tackle, which is coming off of a pretty solid performance against Nebraska in the Las Vegas Bowl. A couple other guys, So'otoa Moiai, who was that 6th offensive lineman that Utah liked to utilize last season under Jason Beck. And then Keith Olson was another guy that performed really well last year. And then probably the biggest development, which wasn't necessarily anticipated, was Isaiah Garcia, who was a highly touted blue chip prospect a couple years ago, but similar to Zeraway Williams, has battled through injuries his first 2 years. But he really looked like the blue chip prospect that he was coming out of high school. Really started to put together some solid practices over those final 2 weeks. And so, Utah has added good depth through the portal. They've recruited really well. Jordan Gross has come in, and he's had a really good relationship with the Utah program, obviously being an alum and just his relationship with the program. The offensive linemen have known him since they've been, since they've committed to Utah, right? You know who Jordan Gross is. And that relationship really allowed for a seamless transition from Jim Harding to Jordan Gross, which is why you didn't see a lot of offensive linemen leave for Michigan to follow Jim Harding. A lot of the linemen stayed here at Utah because of Gross and just kind of their comfort here. So, overall, it is obviously the biggest question mark going into the season, and will be until you start to get games and get that game experience. But there were a lot of positive developments with that group in spring ball.
Steve, on top of having a new offensive line, Utah has a new offensive coordinator in Kevin McGivern. Last year, Utah's rushing game averaged 266.3 rushing yards per game, which was number 2 nationally. So with a new offensive line, a new offensive coordinator, will the rushing game be able to replicate what it did last season?
That's going to be tough, obviously, with an offensive line that Utah had last year. It wasn't just the 2 first-round tackles. They had 3 offensive linemen that had 2 or 3 seasons of experience, and that group played 2 seasons together. So that's just tough to replicate. I don't anticipate the offensive line being as dominant as it was last year, which obviously is going to account for things. And Kevin McGivern, his offense He's got a unique history. He's got offenses that have been among the top passing attacks in the country at San Jose State. He's also had rushing attacks that have been among the top. So he's pretty adaptable to his personnel. The big selling point in why Kevin McGivern was brought in, the terminology is very similar to Jason Beck's, which allowed for, a much smoother transition than a completely different offense, completely different terminology. It allowed Dev and Bird, the quarterbacks, to kind of pick things up pretty quickly. There are differences. I think the passing game, there's a little bit more detail, a little bit more to it. Ultimately, I think the offense is going to be a bit more balanced. When you have quarterbacks like Dev and Bird, your rushing attack is always going to be dangerous. It may not be as efficient as it was last season, where you're getting 6-7 yards on first down, but it's still going to be just as dangerous because of those big play threats in those two and Wayshawn Parker, who really kind of came on over the final 6 weeks of the season. So, I think ultimately what you'll see is a more balanced attack. Utah went into the portal and hit the wide receiver room pretty hard as well. And I think that is also going to lead to more of a balanced attack this season for Utah.
Talking with Steve Bartle from KSL Sports here on Big 12 Radio. Yeah, that's what stood out to me about the new OC, Kevin McGivern, is that like when he was at San Jose State and even at Utah State last year, the passing numbers, what could that mean? You said it's not going to look that much different, but more balanced. What could that mean for Devin Dampier? And then tell us about the wide receivers that have kind of upgraded that position group.
Yeah, I think, with McGivern's offense, it is a bit more balanced. And with Jason Beck's offense, it was a very simple passing attack. Just a lot of vertical routes, stuff like that. There wasn't a lot of route combinations that were designed to get certain receivers open. And I think that's going to be the big difference is there's going to be more designed looks for receivers to get guys open and that sort of thing than there was under Jason Beck. And I think for Dev, this is a big opportunity this season, right? The big question is, can he be that sort of quarterback to lead Utah to Arlington, right? That's the segment title here is getting the road to Arlington. That's the big question for Dev is, can he be that quarterback to do that? And obviously when he's as dynamic as he is, that allows him to be productive, right? As a dual threat quarterback, he accounted for 34 touchdowns by himself last season. But, I think the big question mark is he enough of a threat as a passer? And this offense, I think, is going to allow that to come through. And to Dev's credit is, he's put in a lot of work this offseason so far. He flew his wide receivers down to Arizona. They spent 2 weeks in Arizona. He rented an Airbnb, paid for flights, paid for all of that, brought in trainers for the receivers. That group has put in a lot of work together. And that group included Braden Pagan, the Utah State transfer who led Utah State in receiving last year. Kyrie Scholes I think he was number 2 behind Danny Scudero at San Jose State last year. And then Ricky Johnson, who comes from Mississippi State following Chad Bumpfist, the new wide receivers coach. So there's familiarity there. And then, there are other guys in that room that are still going to be counted on to provide depth in Tobias Merriweather and Creed Whittemore and Dadrian Zipper and others. That group suddenly looks like a pretty formidable group. It's a strength of Utah, that wide receiver room, and that's going to be important for Utah this season and for Dev specifically to take that next step. He answered the questions around his 13-13 touchdown interception ratio coming to Utah from New Mexico. Mm-hmm. Now it's about making some of those more elite plays as a passer this season.
Steve, with the Kyle Whittingham era officially over and there's a new sheriff in town who's not really new, but Morgan Scalley being the first-year head coach, how much pressure is under Morgan Scalley considering the success that Kyle Whittingham had at Utah for so long?
Yeah, there's pressure, and I think we had him on our podcast, the Utah Blockcast, And we had him on last week. And, one he talked about was, each and every week is your Super Bowl, right? If you don't put together wins, you're going to end up on ESPN for all the wrong reasons. I'm paraphrasing what he said, and I'm butchering it because the way he said it, it was, it just was incredible. But, he understands the pressure that's on him, and he knows that, he's got to win. I don't think he's as concerned with, coming from under the shadow of Kyle Whittingham. He's not concerned about that. He helped build Utah into what it is. He's been here since 2008, climbing the coaching ranks from GA to position coach, defensive coordinator, to head coach in waiting since 2019. So he knows and has had his hands, not necessarily on the steering wheel because Kyle Whittingham's, he's been the guy driving the bus here, but he's very familiar with, the demands, the needs to have success. And coming off an 11-win season last year with the pieces that they brought back, and they lost some key pieces, obviously, but there's enough here to be pretty competitive. And I think Morgan understands that, but he is, he's focused on the process and those types of things to ensure that they're going to be competitive on a week-in, week-out basis.
All right, so what are the expectations for not collectively over the course of his tenure, but for this season specifically, when you've got your quarterback back, when you've got your running back back, on paper, I think people just assume, hey, that should be another 10 or 11 win team. So what are the expectations for the Utah fans?
Yeah, for the fans, I think it is just that, right? Getting to 9 wins, getting to 10 wins, 11 wins if you can. The schedule sets up really nicely for Utah to do that. And that's the key, right? So the schedule sets up nicely. You bring back some key figures, right? If you could bring back players from last year's roster, you start at the quarterback position with Dev Dampier and Bird Ficklin, right? Like, if you can bring back your quarterback that had the success that they had, you do that. And the fact that they were able to bring back both, I think, speaks to the commitment that they have, not only to those two, but their impact and what they had. I think they combined for 44 touchdowns together, Bird and Dev. So to have that back, I think that gives you a solid base. And for Dev, that's huge. So to have those two back, to have key pieces on your defense, and then what you've done in the transfer portal at that wide receiver position, fans are pretty optimistic about what Utah can be. And when you look at the schedule, right, the two toughest games on the schedule just in terms of opponent, BYU, Houston, those two games are going to be at Rice-Eccles Stadium at home.
Right.
The toughest part of the schedule doesn't come until that November stretch where you have BYU, and then you go back-to-back on the road with Arizona and TCU. The schedule, Colorado is going to be tough, but I think a lot of fans are looking at the schedule and this team, and just given the success that they've had over the years, understand that there's going to be some a learning curve for Morgan Scalley as the head coach, and I think they're mindful of that, but still the expectations among the fan base is getting to that 9-win mark, getting to that double-digit mark as well. So I think the expectations for success are still high, and I think Utah has the ingredients to get it done. It's just, does Morgan actually get it done? That's what we're all kind of wanting to see this season.
Mm-hmm. Well said. Awesome stuff, man. Steve, you guys do such a great job. Huge fan of the podcast, and appreciate your time.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on, fellas.
All right, man.
Thanks,
Talk to you
Steve.
soon. Steve Bartle, Utah reporter for KSL Sports, joining us here on Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. More to come. You can hear the replay of the Road to Arlington, Utah series that we just wrapped later on this afternoon at 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Central Time, later on right here on the channel on Big 12 Radio, heard exclusively on TuneIn. But up next, we don't like talking politics, but the Protect College Sports Bill might actually have legs. So we'll break down what it would actually mean for the future of college athletics, what's going on behind the scenes, the timeline, and everything else associated with that before Jamie Plunkett, who is the staff writer for the host of Base 12 Sports, to talk KU in Oklahoma, West Virginia, Cal Poly, Super Regionals wrapping today. College World Series around the corner, and one Big 12 team has already punched their ticket. This is Big 12 Today, heard exclusively on TuneIn, watching us on Big 12 Studios.
Out to the edge and going nowhere. Logan Fano shows up again, this time in the run game to make it a 3rd down and long.
Toss. Shaw can't get past Fano. It's going to bring up 3rd down.
5-man front. Caden Salter be ready for pressure. Again, here it comes, and there it goes. Another sack. Fano, Lea'Ea in a race to the quarterback, sandwich Salter down. Not getting a lot of shots at offensive line. Pressure comes, picked up at least for a moment. Now Sims trying to get to the corner, and he sort of did. Iowa State back in Boulder 2 weeks ago. Salter pressure, gets rid of it, and heaves it out of bounds. His running back Micah Welch was in the area, but it's pick your poison up front. Logan Fano applies it against
Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio. Just wrapped up our Utah Road to Arlington series. You can hear the replay later today at 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Central. But before that, the Big 12 Power Hour. Hour number 1 is at 2 Eastern, 1 o'clock Central. The Baylor Athletic Director, Doug McNamee. I always butcher his last name.
McNamee.
Are you sure it's McNamee? I think it's McNamee.
No, 100%. I when I talked to him 2 weeks ago now at spring meetings, it's McNamee.
McNamee.
McNamee, yeah.
McNamee. Doug McNamee.
Doug McNamee.
It's in my brain. McNamee, like a Big Mac. Okay?
Yeah.
Dave Aranda, also the Baylor football coach, and then Willie Fritz and Kenny Dillingham, Houston and Arizona State. That'll be at 1 o'clock Central later today. And then part 2, J.C. Hoyt, Oklahoma State women's basketball, Gene Taylor and Casey Alexander, the Kansas State athletic director and men's basketball coach. And then Arizona State sprinkled in with Randy Bennett, the new men's coach, and Molly Miller, the new women's basketball. I say new, she's in year 2 at Arizona State. But that's the Big 12 Power Hour part 2. Kansas State had a huge recruiting weekend. I'm sure that's all over your timeline.
Duh. Obviously. What gave it away?
So, Correll Buckhalter, does that name ring a bell? He played a few years in the NFL back in like the early 2000s. He was a running back at Nebraska.
Did he play for the Steelers?
He was drafted by the Eagles. Hang on, I just had his NFL page up. Now, he played for the Eagles and then the Broncos. Okay. Played from 2001 to 2010.
Okay.
So he played in over 100 games in the NFL. He was a really good running back at Nebraska. His son just committed to Kansas State over the weekend.
Ooh.
Also a running back from Texas, highly touted 3-star. But then K-State also got a 4-star athlete from the state of Kansas. Picked K-State. He's staying home over a ton of power programs that probably had deeper pockets. He's listed as an athlete. He's like 6 foot, 190. He could play quarterback. He could play running back. He could play receiver. He could play safety. Who knows where they're going to put him? But K-State fans are all excited about that. And then Texas Tech landed a 4-star, a kid out of Denton Guyer, 4-star defensive lineman, Kyron Haywood. He had 35 Division I scholarship offers. 35.
That's a lot.
Chose Texas Tech.
He wants to win. He can win in Lubbock.
Big recruiting weekend.
That's big.
All right, Taman, let me ask you this. What do you know about the Protect College Sports Act? And if you say nothing, I will not judge you.
No, so I know it's being led by Ted Cruz. Mm-hmm. I know that the intent is to improve like college sports in terms of NIL money and I'm trying to think of the other half.
Got to tell you, T-Chains, it sounds like you don't know a lot about it.
I mean,
and that's okay.
But no, I don't. But I do know like some bits and pieces, some hairs.
Like you know that it's a bill that is supposed to reshape college athletics.
Yes.
Get some of this NIL portal craziness.
Maria Cantwell, that was the other senator who's involved in it. But yes, it has something to do with that and NIL money. To summarize it in 2 words.
Yes.
Okay, there we go.
I think that's.
I won't go in depth,
but I will. I only go deep.
I want to listen.
Deep chats.
I'm a listener.
So this bill essentially is attempting to reshape college athletics. To me, this is the one that looks more like a professional sports model with some caveats. But when you look at this thing, and we've got some bullet points that we'll show you in just a moment if you're watching us, the House has tried 3 separate times to pass the SCORE Act. All 3 times have failed. So this next bill, which is put together, as you noted, by Senators Cruz and Cantwell, the 5 pillars of this bill, number 1 is the transfer portal. Athletes would get 1 penalty-free transfer. A second transfer requires sitting out a year. And so that wild, wild west of the portal where players flip programs multiple times, there's no consequences, that would be completely over. Essentially, you're signing a contract. You get one free transfer. You can do it one time, but after that, there are penalties. Now, there are some exceptions, but for the most part, those would rarely apply. The Big 12, by the way, is very supportive of this bill. The Big 12 and the ACC. The Big 12 and the ACC have been very public about, hey, we're all in. The Big 12 is the only league that's had every school even sign the agreement for the CSC. So this is the most interesting of all the political happenings and the bills and the score. Like, this one, to me, might have legs. Number 2 is that the pay gap or the cap gets some real set in stone. It has teeth. The revenue sharing cap that's $21.3 million per school gets set with an increase 4% for the following year. There's no legal enforcement. Schools all over the country, they're already gaming the system. You've got these massive NIL deals that the Deloitte Clearinghouse, the CSC, can't keep up with. So essentially, the NCAA has the power then to actually enforce this salary cap. The money that was originally agreed upon to be distributed but is really just a fake number because schools are just doing whatever they want.
Right.
Okay. So that's number 2. Salary cap, NFL, NBA. That's this. All right, NIL goes federal. That's the third bullet point if you're watching us on Big 12 Studios. So it would require NIL contracts to include very specific terms, what the athlete must do for that NIL deal, and exactly how much they'll be paid, which is what NIL is supposed to be or was supposed to be when NIL virtually didn't exist and still doesn't. Agents would have to be certified, registered. Right now, agents don't have to be certified. Mom, dad, uncle, sister, brother, whoever can be an agent. Agents would have to be registered. They'd have a cap at a 5% fee. Currently, agents have no oversight. They can get a kid to sign a document for 30% and take 30% of the kid's money. Okay? Bullet point number 4, conferences can pool TV money. This provision would let conferences pool media rights collectively and share revenue more evenly if 75% of FBS schools agree. That's the single biggest thing for the Big 12 so far because it's the financial equalizer when it comes to television revenue that could really reshape college athletics and would prevent the SEC or the Big Ten from stepping aside and creating a super league. Essentially, bullet point number 5, no super league. Conferences over $1 billion in revenue are blocked from merging, consolidating, or adding members. This would kill the path for an SEC Big Ten closed off from everybody else super league that in a lot of ways could kill college football as we know it in its current form. This would prevent this.
That's a good thing because the SEC and the Big Ten shouldn't be in any position to say, oh, we're going to create our own super league. That's number 1. Number 2, and I want to thank our friends for Google AI because they had a much better answer than I did about what this bill is.
Gemini.
Yeah. Bipartisan bill introduced by Senator Cruz and Cantwell that aims to establish national regulations for NIL, the transfer portal, TV rights, and athlete eligibility. That's actually a very good summary.
Yeah.
But yeah, to your point though, yes, there needs to be some type of guardrails, which is something that we all know. A contract is a good part. We've talked about collective bargaining because too many people are taken advantage of, and it's a system that's going to be unsustainable. So something has to be done. Now, my concern would be federal NIL. Like, I don't know what that means. I know you said the NIL would be done federally. Did you say that?
Yeah, let me circle back.
I would just like a little more.
So,
it just seems a little vague.
Right now, there's a lot of NIL loopholes on a state-to-state basis.
Okay.
You live in one state, you can do this. You live in another, you can't do it there. So with it being federal, there'd be a national standard that would replace that 50-state kind of patchwork of NIL laws.
Got it. So one state doesn't have an advantage over another. Everybody follows the same rules.
That's the way I understand it.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I'm for this, and because I don't think that the SEC or the Big Ten should be in any position to have a hierarchy over other conferences. That's just going to ruin the sport.
So one thing I dove into this morning is the timeline of it all, because the reason why this is such a popular topic right now is that the Senate committee hearing wrapped on June 4th, towards the tail end of last week. So committee members now have until June 10th, the next couple of days, to submit their written follow-up questions. And then witnesses have until June 24th to respond. I don't like that word, witnesses, that I just used. So after that, the bill then enters these markup sessions, right, where committee members will propose changes. Cruz and Cantwell will negotiate on those changes to try and lock down votes. It needs 60 Senate votes to pass, meaning at least 7 Democrats have to be on board beyond the 2 co-sponsors. So the process is the markup, the committee vote, full Senate floor debate, Senate vote. The earliest possible floor vote would happen towards the end of July. Congress enters their summer recess in August. After that, everybody shifts into campaign mode for the November midterm elections. So basically 6 weeks from today is the window to get it done before it gets completely buried.
Do you think it gets passed and signed into law?
No.
Me neither.
6 weeks is...
I think it's very interesting that you, on Friday, you brought this topic up as this could have been an email. And I just find it funny because I just think that this is going to be a long list of emails just to get an email that nothing passed.
Feels right. Feels very accurate. Ted Cruz himself has dropped his own odds. That's not a good sign. He said 60-40, we get this thing done. Now he's saying we're running out of time, probably 50-50 split.
Email. Senator Ted Cruz drops time.
The Big Ten and the SEC are lobbying very hard against it as well. So we'll see. All right, coming up next, back over to college baseball. The College World Series, West Virginia's punched their ticket for the first time ever. Jamie Plunkett's our guy from Base 12 Sports. He's around the corner. That's T-Chains. I'm James. This is Big 12 Radio.
Spins one, 4th down, got it! Senior to senior. Robertson spins one, 4th down, got it! Rush up the middle, Robertson spins one, 4th down, got it! From the mesh point, he pulls, he shoots, box for a touchdown, Josh Cameron. Bowl eligibility on the line, and they go to Josh Cameron, as you said, to start and to cap. Classes in the ESPN 300. Robertson, and so that is caught by Cameron. Flag down, you hear Cameron barking, and one. I mean, Josh Cameron on the outside, one-on-one. I mean, you got guys straight all the way on. You mentioned it. Does he have full possession of that football? Now, he has possession immediately, but watch the ball move here. He's already got being at 70%. He's going to get the catch. I mean, Josh Cameron on the outside, one-on-one. I mean, you got guys straight all the way on. You mentioned it. Play fake. One-on-one coverage. Jump ball. Flag is out. Hits hauled in. Josh Cameron.
This is what we talked about earlier in impact players. He's our guy that they throw the fade to. You see it right
Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio. Jamie Plunkett, our guy from Base 12 Sports, joins us. West Virginia headed to Omaha for the first time ever. Awesome stuff from Morgantown. Taman, I was giving you the signal to turn it up.
Oh, okay.
Up. That's it, not down. Inject that into my veins. Jamie, West Virginia's headed to Omaha. Man, they just beat the brakes off of Cal Poly. Inferior opponent or just West Virginia playing maybe their best ball of the season?
Definitely more of the latter than the former there. Cal Poly's a really good baseball team. Didn't show their best foot this weekend against West Virginia, but it happens from time to time. I think the time difference did make a little bit of an impact on this series with Cal Poly having to start their baseball games at essentially 9 a.m. Pacific time, having to get out of bed around, I don't know, what was that? Would that be 3, 4 o'clock in the morning their time? But, West Virginia played some excellent baseball this weekend. They had just a tremendous crowd behind them, 4,500 people in the stadium, over 1,000 people on that new hill outside the stadium, Randy's Ridge, where folks were just kind of looking down over the ballpark for free. And they're just hitting really, really well. They're executing on the mound at an incredibly high level. And I'm thrilled for Steve Sabins, that coaching staff, and all those players. They've worked tremendously hard this season, and they've finally got something really cool to show for it.
Yeah, so let me ask you this. Speaking of Steve Sabins, he compared this West Virginia road to Omaha to the New York Yankees of West Virginia. How important is this for that program, for that state, and do you think that they can take this whole thing home?
So to the first part, yeah, that's a great comparison that I thought Sabins made, because when you think about states that don't have professional sports, colleges kind of fill that void, right? We see it with Nebraska. In Nebraska, we see it a couple other places as well. Arkansas is a big example of that as well. And in West Virginia. And so that football team and that basketball team have carried the weight of that university and of that state for a really long time. Rich Rodriguez is someone that knows that really, really well, back for his second stint up in Morgantown. And baseball, really didn't for the longest time. And to the point where roughly 15, 16 years ago, baseball was on the cutting block as a sport at West Virginia. And now to see it come through the Randy Mazey era, as well as it has to the Steve Sabins era, what a fantastic transition that has been. But yeah, it makes sense that the whole state is rallying around this university and this program now. And they are kind of like the Yankees in West Virginia. As far as their ability to win in Omaha, I think they do have what it takes. They've got the frontline starters in Max Yale and Jansen Cole. They've got elite relievers like Ian Korn and Reese Bassinger. And then they can put up runs in a variety of ways. I think last week we talked about what the offense is like at the Schwab out in Omaha, and it's not a big home run ballpark. You're not going to be able to hit a ton of home runs there like a Georgia would hope to want to do. But if you're West Virginia and you can manufacture runs in a more kind of small ball way, get a guy on base, bunt him over, steal a base, do whatever you have to do, or if you can hit gap to gap like they can do incredibly well, you're going to have a lot of offensive success in that ballpark. So I think Sabins and his staff have put together a really good roster that's capable of winning in Omaha, and now we get to see firsthand whether or not that's true.
Kansas and Oklahoma, your thoughts on that series? They get started for the continuation of Game 2 with Oklahoma leading, I think it's 8-1 in the third. That'll start here in a couple of hours. Did Kansas just run into a buzzsaw or run out of gas?
Yeah, I think it's the buzzsaw. Oklahoma came out of that Atlanta region for a reason. They walked off Georgia Tech, the number 2 overall seed, for a reason. They're a really good baseball team, and they're playing incredible baseball right now. And sometimes you just can't push back against momentum like that. We've seen it in college sports all the time, right? When a team gets hot during the NCAA basketball tournament and makes a run to the Elite Eight or the Final Four. And that's just what's happening with Oklahoma right now. Kansas is still a really good ball club. They just kind of ran into it this weekend, and there's still a little bit of hope. They've got 24 comeback wins so far this season, so it's not out of the question that they forced this thing to a Game 3, but down 8-1. I think it's in the fourth inning, maybe bottom of the third, when it picks back up again today, that's going to be a tough hill to climb.
Let me ask you this, Jamie, because James and I were talking about this earlier in the show when it comes to Kansas and this rain delay. Yesterday they were scheduled to start at 5. The game didn't start till 7:30. Obviously, Kansas was down due to losing the first game. Did that really just hurt their momentum and maybe just give it all to Oklahoma, that delay? The fact that they had to wait even longer just kind of dampen whatever game plan they had going in?
Maybe, I don't know. I think what it probably had a bigger impact on was the fan base having to sit in the rain and knowing that they're coming off of a loss, and so maybe it was a little bit more of a tempered enthusiasm than what we've seen from Lawrence, especially in that regional last weekend when it was just fantastic. But I think weather impacts both teams the same. What I will say is during the game yesterday, it was pretty interesting to see Kansas's pitchers struggling more with footing on the mound than Oklahoma's pitchers were. Seeing how it's Kansas's home ballpark and they should be used to that turf mound, I guess it was pretty wet after all of that rain. We saw some guys slipping. Mason Cook had to get the trainer out there to take a look at him. Ryan Ritter was sliding all over the place, and I think that and just maybe turf conditions had more to do with the slow start than the weather itself.
West Virginia, I think the real question now with the Mountaineers, circling back to them, is will they set the new Jello shot record at Rocco's in Omaha?
Well, I mean, if Pat McAfee is going to be out there, I would give him a pretty dang good chance of breaking LSU's record. What a cool event that Rocco's holds every year. They give a lot of money, I think, to the winning teams. Local charities, right? So they give a ton of money back, and so a lot of really good opportunity for West Virginia fans to impact their own community by getting as rowdy as humanly possible out there in Omaha. I think they're gonna break that Jello shot record.
Jamie, West Virginia is going to take on Troy in the College World Series. What can Mountaineers fans expect from the Trojans?
Gritty, absolutely gritty ball club. I mean, they came out of their region. They had to go through the losers bracket, which, you're a 4 seed going through the losers bracket, and you have to win 4 baseball games in 2.5 days. That's a tall task. They went and did it. They've got some really good pitching. They've got a great bat in the middle of that lineup. He's earned the nickname Jabe Ruth this offseason because I think he's hit like 10 home runs already in the offseason, or in the postseason, pardon me. They're gritty, man, and they're going to fight you to the bitter end. And so West Virginia needs to be prepared for a dogfight. They've experienced that a little bit already this postseason with Kentucky and the way that they played in the regional, but they got to be ready. Bring your A game or Troy's going to beat you, and you don't want that to happen.
Jamie Plunkett from Base 12 Sports joining us here on Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. How many tickets have been punched to Omaha? Is West Virginia was the first? They're not the only one, are they? And what potentially would be their path to winning the whole thing?
No, they're not the only one. We've seen quite a few tickets punched already at this point. So West Virginia will be playing Troy in the first round. Troy beat Little Rock in their super regional after coming out of the Florida region in Gainesville. North Carolina and Ole Miss have also punched their tickets, so they'll be the other matchup on that side of the bracket. So if you think about Omaha, it's really 2 regionals kind of pushed together, and then the winners of those regionals play in that final weekend in 2 weeks from now. So on one side of the bracket, you have West Virginia and Troy, North Carolina and Ole Miss. On the other side of the bracket, you've got Texas and Georgia, who have already advanced. And then today, we'll see Alabama and St. John play. Alabama won the first game of that one, and so they're going to advance to Omaha if they win one more game. And then Kansas and Oklahoma, if Kansas loses, they're out and Oklahoma moves on. So we've still got 2 spots to decide, both on one side of the bracket. West Virginia's side of the bracket is all sealed up already, though.
Jamie, Steve Saban's had a lot of people to thank Saturday following the win to head to Omaha. Steve Saban's, where does he rank now as a coach, and how will he be looked at whether they win this World Series or not?
Well, I mean, he's an up-and-coming guy, right? He's 39, so still in his late 30s, has spent the last 11 seasons at West Virginia as Randy Macy's right-hand man before taking the head coaching job over the last 2 years. And it's significant what he has done in the midst of that program, both as a recruiter and now as the head coach. convincing people that West Virginia baseball is worth investing in, worth recruiting to, and that you can win there. And so we know and have known for a long time how incredible West Virginia's fan base is. They just needed something from a baseball perspective to rally around. And so I think what we've seen Steve Sabins do is show that you can win anywhere in the country. And that if you have the right culture, if you have the right mindset, and you get the right players in there, I would not argue that West Virginia is the most talented baseball team in the Big 12. They've got some incredible talent, and they've got some really good depth. But I think what he has been able to do there is convince these guys that on any given day they can be the best baseball team, and that's an incredible quality for a head coach to have. I think he's going to be pretty well sought after here in the next couple of years, and West Virginia is going to have to do a lot to hold on to him.
Jamie, your buddy that joined us last week was talking about basically like positionless baseball, and I think about positionless basketball. Do you see that with West Virginia, just that these guys aren't, they're versatile, they're not dialed into one spot, he can play them all over, and that's how they're winning?
100%, right? You think about Gavin Kelly, who's arguably the best prospect in the 2027 draft class. He has spent 50% of the time behind the plate catching this year. He's spent 50% of the time playing second base. Matthew Gravelin has split time between catcher and left field. Armani Guzman, you can put him anywhere on the ball field and he's going to produce for you. He's been playing first base. He's playing right field. He played shortstop last year. He played center field last year, right? The only thing that guy hasn't done is pitch and catch at this point. And so when you have the ability to put athletes anywhere on the ball field and let them just go play, you've got a really big advantage, because then what you can do is you can say, all right, well, in this situation, in this moment, I want the best possible defensive lineup for closing this game out. And you can go to that. Any other time you can say, all right, well, I know I've just got a bunch of dudes. What's the best offensive lineup that we can possibly put together against this pitcher? And then we'll figure out defense from there, and they're going to go out and do their jobs. So it's a luxury as a coaching staff to have a lot of athletes that can go play all over the ballpark, and they've recruited specifically to do that. And now they're seeing the benefit of that.
Man, that team is just so much fun to watch. What a ride it's been. And Jamie, we'll be talking to you again soon. The Big 12 just keeps rolling.
Looking forward to it, fellas.
All right, man. Have a good day.
Thanks, Jamie.
You too.
Jamie Plunkett, Horned Frog Blitz for 24/7 Sports, but host of Base 12 Sports, the Flyover League podcast, does tremendous work, really being a voice and an ambassador for the sport of college baseball. And it's front and center as West Virginia is headed to Omaha for the first time ever. All right, coming up next, usually we just kind of goof around for the final 10 minutes of the show. Not today. Not today, T-Chains.
Not on my final day? We don't get to...
Not today.
Oh, wow. We're
maybe
being
a
serious.
little, but let me tell you this.
Goodness.
The verdict is in.
Oh, boy.
Lubbock County, Texas.
Dun, dun. We have breaking news?
You haven't been on your phone in the last 15 minutes.
I have not.
Breaking news. Brendan Sorsby's status. His temporary injunction. The verdict is in, and it's coming up next here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio.
Success with Craig. Deep drop for Vida. Taking a shot to the end zone. Chris Hudson. He's got it for 6.
Blitz coming, but it's picked up. Over the middle, deep cross, and it breaks wide open. T.O. Richardson, touchdown.
Will throw to the end zone, and what an attempt!
Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio. Wrapping up the program on a Modelo Monday. The road to Arlington, we hit Utah today. You can hear the replay later this afternoon at 4 Eastern, 3 o'clock Central. It's all Big 12 all day long here on Big 12 Radio. The Big 12 Power Hour starts at 1 o'clock Central with a whole slew of characters like Dave Aranda, the football coach at Baylor, their new AD, and then the Power Hour continues at 2 o'clock Central with names like J.C. Hoyt, Gene Taylor, Molly Miller, Randy Bennett, and more. Well, T-Chains, usually we kind of mess around here the last 10 minutes or so of the program, but today that is not happening. We've got serious business to discuss.
I got to use the voice. We have breaking news.
Nicely done.
Thank you.
It's not that we have a new community pool coordinator. It's that the verdict is in. The verdict is in on the Brendan Sorsby case. Looking for a temporary injunction filed in Lubbock County, Lubbock, Texas, to play this season. Now, this is while the big dog lawsuit continues to proceed, but you can just keep kicking that can down the road. So in a lot of ways, this is it, if he's going to be able to play or if he's not. The verdict is in. T-Chain's Brendan Sorsby. He's a really good quarterback. He's a good kid. Checks all the boxes. A district court judge in Lubbock has granted Brendan Sorsby's request, meaning he can play.
He's playing.
He's playing in 2026.
So this is huge because this totally changes what we perceive with Texas Tech. Not that we weren't – they were still going to be the favorite. Will Hammond was going to always be a quality backup. There was nobody doubted that. But this takes Texas Tech from being a good team to a great team.
Like national championship contender team.
Right, exactly.
There's a lot of details to break down. Some of the key language from the ruling. The NCAA continues, this isn't part of the ruling, but this is just an opinion piece. They continue to lose their power over college athletics. I would almost argue they don't have any power anymore. This is just one more kind of notch on the belt, if you will. But some of the key language, the NCAA cannot prevent Brendan Sorsby from practicing, playing, or otherwise participating on Texas Tech's football team for the 2026 season. The judge also ruled that Sorsby, had he not been granted this temporary injunction, would have suffered probable, imminent, and irreparable injury. Not physical injury, mental injury. Because Texas Tech argued that Brendan Sorsby needed football. He's gone through the treatment program, but he needs an outlet if he's going to continue down this path of recovery, which is still what this is, a addiction that he is recovering from. It is going to be an ongoing thing. So as of today, Brendan Sorsby is eligible to practice. Brendan Sorsby is eligible to play. And Brendan Sorsby is expected to be Texas Tech's quarterback in 2026.
I mean, last year he had 27 touchdowns, 5 picks, 2,800 yards. Passing, he rushed. I don't have his rushing numbers in front of me, but I know he rushed a lot. For Cincinnati, this is huge for Texas Tech. This is huge for the Big 12. And I say that because what you just alluded to just a couple of minutes ago, the fact that this is a national championship team. I think if Will Hammond had been their quarterback, I personally believe they would have been a good team and even a playoff team, but not a national championship contender. I think that's the difference. And that's not a shot at Will Hammond. I think he's a very good quarterback. But there's a reason why going into November last year for Cincinnati, Brendan Sorsby was in the Heisman candidate. He was one of the listed as a Heisman caliber candidate. There's a reason why he had a billboard in Times Square when Texas Tech signed them. Again, this is a massive story. It's from a football standpoint, strictly from a football standpoint, from the legal standpoint, from the gambling standpoint, I'm going to leave that to the lawyers, and I'm going to leave that to the treatment people who, help people who have gambling addictions for treatment. I'm going to leave that. That's not my expertise. But for strictly from a football standpoint, this is huge.
Now, Texas Tech, part of their ask, for lack of a better term, was that Brendan Sorsby could play, but that he would sit out Texas Tech's first 2 games. So that was the penalty that his legal team suggested to the NCAA. So Brendan Sorsby, if I'm reading this correctly, can't play in Texas Tech's first 2 games, which are Abilene Christian and Oregon State. It's bullet point number 5, actually going through the actual document. Not participating in the game day activities of the first 2 games of the Texas Tech football season. So he will sit out 2 games. He is still serving a suspension.
Mm-hmm. His first game will be Friday, September 18th against Houston. Friday game. The Friday game that Cody Campbell loves so much. But, yeah. So let me ask you this. James Wesley. Friday, September 18th, Brendan Sorsby gets to play his first game of the season. Is he set and ready to go, or is Houston out for blood and want to ruin his rain on his parade?
Both things can be true. We'll settle it on the field between the white lines. He's going to be more than ready. He only has to sit out on game day. He can still practice with the team.
Yep.
He's going to be poised, polished, with that home crowd behind him, opening at home, going to give him an injection of confidence and light, and just, when I say life, I mean energy from Jones AT&T Stadium, which is already one of the most electric atmospheres in all of college football.
So let me ask you this. If you're Houston, knowing that's going to be the story, if you're Willie Ferretz's crew, how do you respond to that on a Friday night game where this is the biggest story at Jones AT&T Stadium?
Well, you prepare for Brendan Sorsby.
Of course. I mean,
you prepare for him to be the quarterback.
You prepare, but how do you stay poised?
Well, I think it gives Houston, for that game in particular, also some extra motivation.
Sure.
As if they needed it. They're going to be up for that game either way. But this is massive in terms of the magnitude of the loss that the NCAA just took.
Yes.
Because this is preceding, again, there's separate lawsuits. This is the temporary injunction. Can he play while the big lawsuit continues to happen and develop?
I mean, I'm going to quote our good friend and host who'll be back tomorrow, Ari Temkin. There's a reason Jeffrey Kessler took on the case.
Yep.
And I don't think that the bigger case is going to matter.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm convinced it won't matter.
Right.
So
it's just more evidence for Kessler, Sorsby, Texas Tech to walk into that courtroom with and say, we've already won elsewhere.
Right.
And the story, as much as it is about Sorsby, I think it's bigger about the NCAA. The question is, can the NCAA actually enforce any type of eligibility rules when every single major dispute that ends up in court, they lose? Because the sequence went, the NCAA gets a tip. They investigate. The NCAA rules him permanently ineligible, can't ever play. The NCAA even denies his reinstatement. Texas Tech, the judge says he can play anyway. Like, that is a massive challenge to the NCAA's authority that they just lost.
I want to say this. The NCAA has released a statement, In the statement, I'll read it. The NCAA strongly disagrees with the court's filings in Sorsby's case and is deeply concerned about the damaging, far-reaching, and broadly destabilizing ramifications of this outcome, which undermines and corrupts the integrity of sports. The NCAA is committed to supporting student-athletes' mental health, but must continue to aggressively defend against actions that defraud college athletics and threaten competitive integrity, such as betting on one's own sport.
I mean, and the next layer of this is 2 games enough? Would 2 games have an impact on a college athlete that is considering betting on sports? If you get caught, 2 games.
Yeah, the question is going to be is now what is the standard? Because if this happens again with another athlete, well, 2 games is it. Or maybe I'm the quarterback screw and I say only 1 game. Maybe 3 games. What is the standard now?
I think the standard has been reshaped. Like the deck has been reset. Because Brendan Sorsby wasn't just betting on a couple of games here and there. And this is the he should be suspended longer, he should be ineligible side of the coin. I am very much supportive of him playing this season,
Sure.
which I changed my tune drastically once I read about the NCAA making millions and millions of dollars by providing sports book data companies information, data.
There's a lot of
from their
hypocrisy from the NCAA side. A lot of hypocrisy. Listen, again, I am not a I actually don't gamble. I've never gambled on a sports game. But what other people do, that's their business. I have my biggest belief is I just hope Sorsby can heal. I think that's the most important thing, because when you have an addiction, that is a mental health problem, and I don't know how he heals. If this is what makes him heal, I'm all for it. I just don't want to see a young man go down a dangerous path. How that plays out, that's outside of my expertise.
That's also another reason why I'm supportive of him playing. The NCAA, another added layer of hypocrisy is you can't say we support the mental well-being of our student athletes, yet we're going to completely kill this kid's career because he bet on games.
Yeah.
Because the NFL won't touch him, wouldn't be able to play another college football down for the rest of his life, would probably have to surrender the $5 million that Texas Tech was set to pay him for being their quarterback. That is a lot of those are circumstantial things that would make it very challenging to overcome a very legitimate gambling addiction.
I also try to think back. I mean, you're 41, right? And I'm almost
35, bro.
I'm almost 35. But I guess my point is that when we were in our early 20s, we all made mistakes, right? And there have been many people, I know it for sure in my life, and I'm sure for people in your life as well, who understood that, yes, there were consequences that we had to take, but they were willing to help us. If you're willing to totally kill somebody's career when your closet isn't squeaky clean either, that's a problem.
The biggest news of the offseason, no question about it. Brendan Sorsby eligible for the 2026 season. He will miss the first 2 games against Abilene Christian and Oregon State. Pete Nakos may be joining us tomorrow, or Ross Dellinger, TBD.
That's the plan.
Those guys are going to be
we'll try.
Going to be pretty busy over the next 12 to 24 hours, but we'll give it a shot. On tomorrow's show, you'll hear from Baylor head football coach Dave Aranda. It will be our Road to Arlington series on
BYU, Brigham Young University.
BYU. Spencer Linton's going to join us. Already is scheduled to rejoin us tomorrow on the program.
He's back.
Taman, how'd you feel about your efforts over the last week?
You know, I thank everyone. I thank you. I thank Ari. I thank Edgar. I thank everyone at TuneIn, and I thank Anthony over at Big 12 Studios. If I had to give myself a grade,
I thought you were giving like an Emmy award-winning speech. You're thanking a lot of people.
Hey,
we did nothing.
There's a lot of people.
We didn't do anything.
There's a lot of people.
We did our jobs.
Who contribute to this show, and I'm thankful for. I will just say, I'm going to go out on a limb and say I was Tobe Awaka.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I
Comes off the bench, makes an impact.
Yeah, I think that's what I did. I did my best. I tried, and I thank our viewers and our listeners as well for giving me an opportunity.
They love you on Reddit.
Oh, thank T-Chains with a Z.
There it is. All right, he's Taman Turner. I'm James Westling. That'll put a wrap on this edition of Big 12 Today. Big 12 Power Hour kicks off at 1 o'clock Central, 2 o'clock Eastern. Rejoin us tomorrow, 8A to 11A each and every weekday right here on the channel, exclusively on TuneIn here on Big 12 Radio, watched on the Big 12 Fast channel, Big 12 Studios. For our video producer, Anthony Smith, for Taman, I'm James. So long. We'll see you mañana.
Peace.